Hey everybody, welcome to 580 week 3. We're going to try this video again. I've been recording in QuickTime on my laptop. Totally just crashed and I lost the whole video. So I'm going to be recording on my phone. So I need to make sure and look at my phone here and not up at my laptop, usually where the camera is. So if you catch me looking up this way, it's because I'm used to looking at the top of my laptop. Anyway, that was a really good video. I'm sorry that you don't get to see it, but you will get to see this. And it's a better camera anyway. So with that, you are in it. So hang on. Know that you are in it and that is okay. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to read. A lot to just work on this week. So hang in there, right? Let's start just by going over what week 3 looks like, kind of task-wise, and then we'll dive into more of the what of a lit review and of action research. So there is a discussion board this week. You're going to be sharing about your action research group. So you're going to talk about your group's progress, the direction research has taken at whatever point you happen to be at, and then, pardon me, you're going to be talking about, so it's due right Thursday. The Tuesday before, we will be having a synchronous session, and I'll dive into what kind of the roles are. So you'll be sharing what your role in the group is, and just kind of talking back and forth about that. You have your library orientation. I sent something out a couple weeks ago. It's Monday, January 22nd. So look for an announcement in Blackboard, in the 580 Blackboard shell. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, hopefully you have that ready to go. You will find that it is going to be a really good use of your time, and that it is exactly what you needed at just the right time. So you're going to attend that, and then you're going to submit your proof of attendance in Blackboard. So be sure and get credit for that. That's what assignment number 2 is. I believe it's assignment number 2. And then the next day. So sorry for the back-to-back days. That's sometimes the way it goes. We're going to have our synchronous session. So inside of week 3, there's still a link to the Google Doc if you want to switch from the earlier session to the later. There's still room in the later session. We'll do an hour and a half group 1, an hour and a half group 2. In that, we're going to cover 3 things. We'll talk about the research role. So in your group, who's the intervention expert? Who's the person actually running the research and doing the thing with the students? And then who is or who are the data analysis expert or experts? So we'll go into a bit more details about that. We'll talk about the lit review. I'll give you some more info in a few minutes about that. You also have a chance to talk about it Tuesday during class, and then we'll also talk really specifically about obtaining informed consent since you are doing research. So one thing that kind of struck me when I tend to read books for classes, it tends to be like week 2, read chapter 2, and then a week later I'll read chapter 3. Actually, I went back and reread chapter 2 just because I got so many questions. So please keep those questions coming. That's what I'm here for, right? And don't feel bad at all. Of all the courses, this is the one where you're going to get lots of questions. It's also one where I'm going to do a lot of, hang on, I'm not quite sure, because the questions tend to not be easy questions, and that's amazing. So I reread chapter 2 and then read chapter 3 kind of back to back, and I was really struck, I think, by how in chapter 2 it was talking about refining your interests, your thoughts, your passions, and as a way to get to an action research question. Hendricks prompted us to reflect on your core values as an educator. I thought that was so powerful in a few different ways. I think that it's a deeply personal question, which is really cool, but it's also so much about reaching beyond yourself to make a difference in the world, right? So it becomes this really personal thing, but then also, and that this is how I think inside of Blackboard, sometimes we have a scripture and a brief reflection around that, and sometimes those feel a bit disjointed, but I feel like in this course in particular, actually like being really thoughtful about how you were making a difference in the world and reflecting on this personal thing and then this outward thing is such a part of what action research is, and I think that's really beautiful. Um, in chapter 2, and it digs way more in chapter 3 in the Hendricks text. So I'd encourage you that if you're not the type to be reading, that for sure chapter 3 is the chapter you want to read. It's going to help explain so much. The two things that I thought would be worth kind of reiterating are the two types of questions. There's the what is, and then there's the what works. So the what is tends to be more around beliefs, right? You're trying to figure out kind of what pushes people's behaviors, or what people's thoughts are around a particular part of your school, and in so many ways, right? So you're gonna spend your time in the lit review looking at about that topic, finding other lit reviews about that topic, other writings around that, to try and get at kind of what is something, like what are the beliefs, what are the thoughts, what motivates people with that. And it's going to be a lot of personal reflection around your own biases, and then there's the what works, right, on the other side. So the what works is actually implementing a lesson. So you still have to do the research about the topic, right? You learn about it, find the research and the thoughts that other people have shared about it. But then you also need to actually like design and implement the intervention. So here's kind of what people think. Here's what I'm going to do about it in my class. So that's the what works, and there's the what is. So everybody's probably going to be doing a what works type of research question. There's been one thing that's been really bothering me. It's been just in the last couple days that I've really been able to kind of reconcile this thought. So much of my own professional learning has been from informal sources, right? So lots of blog posts, lots of tweets. I can think about like an Instagram photo a few years ago that completely changed the way that I approach digital citizenship at our school. And then another tweet that really switched how our school talks about digital citizenship. We actually talk about digital leadership now. And each of those came from a photo on Instagram and a tweet, right? Like that's amazing. And so much of what we're doing with action research is not that stuff, right? So how do you hold kind of both? And there's one thing that really stuck out to me. And in the text, Hendricks talks about opinion pieces, which is what I took to be essentially blogs, saying that they're less helpful because they're based on anecdotes with no data. And that's true. Like so much of my own professional growth and learning is just hearing people's stories, right? And I'm going to hear those one-on-one at conferences. I'm going to hear those through short blog posts, through photos, through tweets, kind of you name it. That's what really resonates with me. And for me, it's being able to have that conversation. So it's a blog post. It's there so that I can comment, so that I can reach out to them and have a conversation. And action research is like a version of that, but it's with data. So it's looking at other people's lessons learned with data so that you're able to make a more informed choice in your classrooms. So maybe a way to kind of bridge these is that you're not going to be Googling things, but Google Scholar is kind of a way you can scaffold yourself if you're similar to me, where you're really focused on the more informal types of learning and sharing. All that's amazing, and it is still really important. And I think there's a real value in being able to look at something and look at the data behind it, so that you're able to replicate it, so you're able to do your own version of it, so you're able to build on it and think about it that way as action research. So Google Scholar might be a cool kind of middle ground as you get into doing your own literature review. And Google Scholar, if you may not know, looks at scholarly articles and books. So it gives you that familiar Google interface, and it's not going to give you just web results, right? Because those haven't been vetted. Those tend to not have a solid bibliography. Those aren't in-lit reviews. And then you'll probably find out on Monday, one of my I don't know favorites, but the one I'm most familiar with is Eric, and that's going to be a great way to jump into your lit review. So chapter 3 does a fantastic job giving the workflow of the lit review. I'll give you a quick little summary of what I think were the biggest parts. This is just straight out of chapter 3. Again, if you're not reading it, now is the time to jump in and start reading that, because just I've never seen a course that's so well aligned with the text, and where the text is brings such clarity. It tends, in my experience, to be a bit more of a tangent, and this fits so well with it. So the workflow for your lit review is you're going to be searching out scholarly articles and books, right? Google Scholar with Eric, with all the things you're going to learn about in Monday's library orientation and course. So you're going to search, and then you're going to take those results and skim them, and then you need to refine, right? So depending on what your first query was, you have to go narrower, you have to go broader. And then you might go back and search again, skim those results, and once you have it nicely refined, then you're going to evaluate. And there's 3 parts to evaluating. Again, this is straight from the book, right? You're going to look for relevance, credibility, and similarity. So the relevance is going to be, is it actually related to our action research question, to that initial kind of problem or wondering that you have as a group. The credibility is going to be looking to see if it's a credible source, right? That should be hopefully self-explanatory. And then the similarity is going to be, is it similar enough to other sources you're using? Does it get at what you're trying to get at? Or is it just kind of too far off and you're trying to just fill out the lit review, or kind of fill it in? So you're going to be evaluating it in those 3 ways. And then once you're done with all of that, you're going to synthesize all of that for the lit review. And this part I actually just wrote down the quote exactly from the book. You're going to synthesize after all the relevant sources have been thoroughly read. So the thoroughly read part, right? This is the part where this is just a lot of work, and there's no way around that. It's going to be a lot of vetting, a lot of skimming, a lot of refining, a lot of evaluating. But when you're done with that, the lit review is going to be just so helpful. So we're going to dig more into this on Tuesday, but that should get you teed up, and that's week 3. So hang in there, enjoy, and I'm guessing that maybe around week 3, this might be the moment where something kind of clicks and you go, oh wow, like action research is really empowering. I can really make a difference in the world with this style of research. So everyone tends to have kind of their own aha moment around that, and week 3 tends to be kind of a magical place. So when that happens, let me know. It's exciting, and happy week 3, everybody.